Hi, welcome everybody. Zdravo, dobrodošli to our Budapest, Belgrade, Zagreb CEU Executive MBA Open Day. You will have the opportunity to join us from Zagreb to have a conversation with Maciej Kiszlowski, our faculty director. He's an associate professor of law and strategy. He's got a JSD degree from Yale, an MPA from Princeton, and an MBA from INSEAD. Maciej Kiszlowski publishes in 3 disciplines, which is management, law, and political economy. He advises governments, international organizations, progressive political movements around the world. And he's a frequent contributor to international media, including Politico, Project Syndicate, Foreign Policy, and the Wall Street Journal. Then you will have the opportunity to enjoy a keynote presentation by Professor Achilles Georgiou. I will introduce him later to you. And in the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Please feel free to shoot in your question into the chat box or just direct message me. I will collect all of these questions for the Q&A session at the end of this evening. So without further ado, I would like to start the program presentation. Is an MBA still worth it? You don't have to go very far these days to encounter that we are witnessing fundamental transformations in the world in a century. In 2008, we've had a big financial crisis. In 2015, we've seen a big refugee crisis. And right now, we're in the biggest pandemic in a century. These changes are part of a much broader set of transformation that is taking place. Some of them are positive and some of them are pretty dangerous, to be honest. And the key question is, how do we as business professionals, how do you as business professionals prepare for this challenging and moreover unpredictable environment? So the obvious question is an MBA the way to do it? Because we have seen an explosion of online education over the last 2 years, and I'll show you why we believe our MBA is worth it. So if you're interested in further education, you usually start for an MBA in the city you live in. What you tend to find is mostly a pretty standard, a pretty vanilla MBA curriculum without any mission, without any certain perspective. The faculty who are delivering that program are pretty much local. They're from the region or just from the city or just from the country you're doing the MBA in, but there's no international focus. So is the student body. The number of international students in these kind of programs is relatively low. And some of these programs in Western Europe can be quite expensive, starting at 15 or 30 or even 80,000 or even 100,000 euro in Germany, Switzerland, or the UK. And these local programs allow you not to leave your job. If you contrast that with the top business schools in the world, mostly in the US or in the UK, they often have a very differentiated curriculum. They offer a certain expertise, a certain perspective, or even a mission. Because of their full-time format, most of these universities have a full-time format, their student body is international actually. But you're leaving the labor market for 1 or even 2 years, which is another financial burden in addition to your tuition. Speaking of tuition, these programs are rather expensive at more than 120,000 euro or dollars, and you may have to move your family to the new MBA location as well. So what we do at CEU is to offer the best of 2 worlds. First of all, there is no work interruption, thanks to the practical and flexible modular format. I will talk about this modular format later. The executive MBA, our executive MBA, is very much mission-driven. I will talk about the executive MBA for the open world philosophy later. We do have an international student body because of the modularity of the program. We are the 2nd most international university in the world, according to the Times of Education, and our participants can fly in and fly out from 5 continents, which is a major advantage of the program. Speaking of tuition, I already mentioned it. If you compare it to the programs that I already mentioned, you will see that CEU Executive MBA offers a very competitive tuition. Our basic tuition without any scholarships, without any fellowships is 29,000 euro. But if you applied for our need-based scholarships, which are 100% applicable in countries like Croatia, Serbia, Hungary, or the whole Balkans region, actually, you can reduce your tuition to up to 15,000 euro, which is a very competitive advantage of our program. And when we say world-class faculty, we really mean it. First of all, I will introduce you to some of our faculty members. For economics, for example, Mark Kaufmann, an expert in applied theory with a PhD from Harvard. Or Professor Isusenius with a PhD from the University of Central Florida. She's an expert on marketing and in particular, emotional marketing. The course on big data and artificial intelligence will be taught by Miklos Koren, one of the leading scholars in the field in Europe with a Harvard PhD. For leadership, Austin, our world-class psychologist with executive education experience on 4 continents, he will lead the way. Our faculty director, Maciej Kiszlowski, who I already introduced to you, he's also teaching in the program. And if you're new to finance, Joy is a uniquely gifted educator. Generation after generation of our students tell us how she's just unique in explaining complex financial concepts, translating them into a very simple and understandable language. And if you're already experienced in finance, you'll be placed in the advanced track course with Adam Zawodowski, a leading expert on complex investments with a PhD from Princeton. And last but not least, Sofia Barani, an expert on the future of work. She's an expert on the automation of work, artificial intelligence, and robotics with a PhD from LSE. And last but not least, Professor Yusuf Akbar, who has taught in more than 40 countries and advises leading Fortune 500 companies. And just to give an example of our visiting faculty, I would like to introduce you to some of our examples coming from the best universities in the world, from mainly US universities. Professor Christian Selos, an expert on innovation from the innovative university in the world from Stanford. Professor Miklos Sabari, an expert on digital marketing from Columbia University. Professor Omar Hernandez, an expert on operations management from Berkeley Hess Business School. Or Professor Hui Chen from the University of Zurich, and Professor Paula Caproni from the University of Michigan. This is just a small impression of the faculty and visiting faculty that we offer to teach you in our class. So here's what the program looks like. It's a 10-module program. The dates you can see on the screen are not going to change. So you can basically plan your studying around professional and family activities based on these dates. As you can see, we have 3 modules in the first year, which is the row on the top. In the second year, we have 4 modules, which is the center row. And in the third year, we have another 3 modules, which gives you flexibility and a balance in your life. You might have noticed that we are piggybacking around popular European holidays like May 1st, November 1st, or August 15th, when it's easier for you to take time off over a long weekend and attend the program without any work disruption. In the summers, which is the center column, our bespoke and cutting-edge leadership program takes place in Budapest, and you'll have the opportunity to benefit from electives from the faculty in the world we invite to teach your classes. So eventually, there will come the day when you finish with us and you will join the CEU alumni from around the world. As I already said, CEU is the 2nd most international university in the world, and you can rely on an active elite network on every continent. We have city-level chapters, we have country-level chapters. Basically, wherever you are in the world, wherever you might go in the future, you'll find CEU alumni to interact with and to mingle with. And the network is a network that you can really count on and one of the key assets that we have. Our alumni network has a very American-driven approach. So it's very easy, approachable, and reachable. You can just reach out through our social media groups on Facebook or LinkedIn, but you can also reach out to Alumni Relations Department if you're looking for structured alumni outreach. If you're looking for people in a certain city, in a certain profession, or in a certain industry, feel free to interact with them and to easily reach out to them. So the question is, how are we even able to offer such a high quality program at only 29,000 euros or 15,000 euros if you're applying for a need-based scholarship? So the answer is pretty simple and lies in our founder and benefactor, George Soros, who created CEU with the mission to promote open society. Just recently, George Soros made a further contribution to CEU's mission by offering another billion with a B dollars in endowment to create the Open Society University Network, which means we are the best financially endowed university in Europe. So what does the Executive MBA for the open world mean? What makes CEU so unique compared to other programs? First of all, when we talk about the open society, when we talk about open world, we mean skepticism towards dogmas, towards hierarchies and privileges, both in context of how we teach, but also in composition of our cohorts. Diversity is key for us to creating a successful program. And for us, it's not just an empty marketing catchphrase to create a colorful marketing brochure. For us, diversity, it's part of our DNA. Secondly, we believe in debate and radical rational thinking. Every idea can be challenged. We believe in facts and arguments rather than narratives and fake news, because it's narratives and fake news that create polarization in our societies these days. And we believe the best way to challenge this narrative-based discourse is to make arguments based on facts and realities, which is the hallmark of Karl Popper's definition of open societies. As you can imagine, we're fundamentally opposed to all kinds of discrimination, and we actively promote diversity within our program. And the way we finance the scholarship means we create opportunities for people who traditionally have not been able to actually join programs like this one. And we see managers not just as people who deal with businesses or resources, but we also believe that managers go beyond that. Whatever their profession is, whatever their position is, whatever their cultural or national background is, it doesn't matter if you're coming from the classical corporate world, if you're coming from entrepreneurship, if you're coming from NGOs, public sector, or the civil rights movements, we consider our managers, our participants, as positive change agents. So what does the CEU Executive MBA classroom look like? Currently, we have 65 managers with an average of 14 years of work experience, including a minimum of 3 years of managerial or leadership experience. As you can see from the background image, we use state-of-the-art classroom technology and setups in order to facilitate lively discussion and interaction in class. We make use of case-based learning rather than traditional lectures that you would find in local MBA programs. And we want to take you, experts in your specific field, from this level of functional expertise to the strategic level. So in these times, of course, we often receive the question, what about online participation? Because it seems like every other program, all the universities are moving online. Of course, we offer online experience, which is top quality, and every participant can choose to join online if traveling is inconvenient, or if there's an underlying health condition, or if you just want to attend a module online. In order to offer you the best learning experience, we have invested in studio-grade microphones capturing lecturers and all participants. Because you need to understand, from our perspective, education and teaching is not just a one-way street from the lecture to the individual student. It's a give and take also from the student back to the lecturer, but also among fellows and students themselves. We have invested in large screens and high quality cameras to capture every single debate and interaction in class. We have created physical virtual breakout rooms for support teams. You can see that the support teams that we have in our current cohort are color-coded, so it's easy for you to identify when you're in a Zoom module, when you're joining on Zoom, who belongs to which support team. And one thing that is really unique about these support teams is we're taking the diversity to the next level, because you will be placed in a support teams not with members of your same industry, the same country, or the same linguistic background. We want to proactively expose you to as much diversity as possible, because this is where the real learning kicks in. When you're exposed to different solution-making processes, to different decision-making processes, to different learning styles, to different styles of interaction and debate, you will actually learn more than just being in a group of like-minded people from the same industry, from the same country, from the same profession. So we have created personalized virtual backgrounds for you, so it's easy for you to identify debate in class. And we offer high-quality individual support on every level that you're with us. If it's just an inquiry about the program, if you're applying for the program, if you're in the process of enrolling to the program, if you're a current participant, or if you have become an alumni of the program, we are always here for you, and we offer high quality individual support. So as I already said, basic tuition is 29,000 euro, but this means there are no financial or scholarships in this context. You are free and you're welcome to apply for scholarships. We have a need-based scholarship that you could apply for, so you could reduce your tuition to up to 15,000 euro. The tuition covers the whole programs and all credits. As I already said, there is an online option. If you want to, every participant can join online if traveling is inconvenient, or if you have any other conditions that prevent you from on-site education. However, just to be honest, we're straightforward about it. We encourage everybody to join on-site because there's no doubt about it. It's just the better learning experience. The direct interaction in class with your teachers, with your lecturers, but also with your fellows and us, with the program office, cannot make up for online education. We're just honest about it. And of course, the on-site education, the on-site experience also enables you to have lunch and dinner together with your fellows, to join social activities in the evenings, and to do some networking and build up your network, which can hardly be done online, to be honest. In order to defray your other costs, we have special rates. We have negotiated discount rates with partner hotels in Vienna and Budapest, ranging from the budget level to luxury. And we have negotiated discounts for flights with Lufthansa Group and Austrian Airlines to bring you to Budapest and Vienna at a lower price. So we invite you to join the open world. I strongly encourage you to apply as soon as possible, even though the application deadline is March 27, because we have a first come, first served policy. So it's clear, the sooner you apply, the sooner you can reserve your study seat, and the sooner you can basically confirm your scholarship or fellowship. So you're invited to book an individual one-on-one consultation with me to discuss your questions and optimize your application. If you have any specific questions that you do not want to talk about in this setting, that where you want individual advice, I'd be happy to book to have a one-on-one consultation with you. It can be easily booked through our website, or I will post the link to the booking system later in this chat. So it's one thing to hear about the program from us, from the program office. I mean, it's clear that we're passionate about the program. We're so energetic about the program and so committed to it. But it's another thing to hear about the program from people who are actually doing the program. I think there's no better and more authentic feedback from current participants. And we have the honor of having invited Anita Jovic to the Belgrade campus here tonight. And she will talk about her motivation in a minute. Anita Jovic is studied business management and computer engineering. She's a business consultant and owner of Anado.io. She's the founder of Artificial Intelligence Serbia and co-managing partner of the Data Science Conference. Anita, thank you for joining us. If you could briefly introduce yourself to the audience, to the online audience, and to our people here in Zagreb and Belgrade, and just tell us about who you are and why you chose CEU back then.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to join on the stage today. I'm Anita, and my background is combined in programming, so IT, as well as business management. I worked with blockchain companies, AI companies. I also founded AI Serbia back in 2017. So my main motivation was to collaborate with more international people and also to improve my finance as well as leadership skills. And I think the CEU MBA is the best way to do it. What motivated me is also module that you have regarding the data science and also innovation technology included. So you are keeping a track with happenings inside the industry, which is really highly valuable and also a great way to start your career as a leader, because you need to know anything today regarding the technology. It's just part of our everyday life. And that's it. Like, if you have questions or from the audience, I would love to cover it. I finished all of my exams for the first module, so I'm really happy. And what I love the most is just colleagues and how much I learned from them. As you said, the diversity is pretty important. So we have literally, I think, from 60 people, 50 of them are from different countries. Yep. So it's really, like, when you say international, they really mean it. So it is not only Europe, it's also India, Russia, and America, Canada. So it's pretty international for European university, and I love it the most. Also, we have a lot of girls and women inside the program, which is really, really appreciate that you're supporting diversity in many sides, not only for gender. So it is like the best program that I wanted to join when it comes to quality and people that you are in touch with and professors. Yeah.
I took some notes while you were talking about the key phrases that you mentioned. You mentioned some bullet points. You mentioned artificial intelligence and the modules. I already showed the module chart. Some of the modules deal with very zeitgeisty topics like big data management, entrepreneurship, network economy, etc. Because you would need, as a leader, you would need to take into consideration big data management when you're making a decision on that as well. You cannot just focus on numbers and balance sheets. You would only base your decisions based on facts and data. So this is how, this is another part that you will learn in the program. You also said the leadership issue. I already showed you the module chart, and 3 of 10 modules solely deal with leadership. So leadership has a very important role in our program. Basically, all the long summer modules deal with leadership, because this is where we think where you need improvement, because you're moving to this level. You're moving from the level of functional expertise to a strategic level, to a leadership level. And this is where you will need skills, no matter what your professional background is. And we are happy to provide those skills and the network. You also mentioned the international class. It's amazing that we have recruited people coming from 5 continents, even despite of a pandemic. I think this shows how much trust people have in our experience, in our experience and in our expertise. The people from as far as away as Vancouver or Vladivostok or India, or we even have 2 Australians and South Africans in the program, are committing to a program at this very challenging time. And we are, as I already said, the second most international university. And I think this is being perfectly reflected, not just in the faculty body, but also in the student body. And the last thing that you mentioned is diversity in women. We proactively engage and empower diversity with a variety of fellowships that we offer. We offer a Western Balkans fellowship. We offer LGBTIQ fellowships. We offer a fellowship for managers with a disability. We offer a fellowship for the Romani ethnic minority in Europe, diversity fellowships in the UK and in the Netherlands and France. We offer women empowerment fellowships on the international level, but also on the regional level, like the MENA level in Russia, in Bulgaria, in Estonia, for example, just to give you a little impression of how we are actively engaging and supporting diversity.
Yeah, just to mention,
sure.
I'm also having a fellowship from CEU. So this was also the reason to join, because I was so honored that you offered me this opportunity.
Sure.
And it meant a lot for me, so I can restructure my finances and be able to participate. I'm really happy that I joined. And also what you mentioned regarding the diversity, it's also not only this part, but also diversity in backgrounds. So what I love the most is that we have people from leading managers in health tech companies, then we have people who are in aviation, then in HR industry, in investments, etc. So you learn a lot from these people because they are having a different backgrounds, different insights, different way of thinking and process to make crucial decisions. So you're learning also from them, not only from professors, and this is the biggest value.
Just to add one more thing, we have participants not only coming from the corporate world, but also our program is very attractive to people coming from the NGO, the public sector and civil rights movement, because of the high reputation of CEU in the field of promoting open societies, democracy building, and being a strong voice for human rights, liberal voices, minority rights, diversity, inclusion. So it's not just attractive to corporate people, but also for people who are not traditionally who wouldn't traditionally consider an MBA or an executive MBA, maybe in an industry that is not traditionally, MBA affiliated, like NGOs and civil rights. Anita, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for coming. I would like to move to the next part, to our keynote presentation with Achilles Georgiou. Achilles Georgiou is an innovation management expert and an inspirational speaker. He's thought-provoking philosopher and professional maze runner. He's an adjunct senior lecturer at CEU Department of Economics and Business and member of the CEU Innovations Lab board at CEU. He's currently working at IBM as the Technology Support Services Sales and Business Development Leader for Eastern Europe. And apart from being an ITIL expert, he's also a subject matter expert of solution sales and cross-industry specializations. And we have the honor to listen to a keynote presentation on Invisible City Intelligence, the digital reinvention of our cities. Achilles, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for joining. We have some people online and some people face-to-face here. It's great. So I brought you a very tiny slide of my course where we discuss about smarter cities, the digitization of cities, and how this is evolving through the time. It's a very interesting topic. Nowadays, it's becoming even more interesting. We are in a very changing environment with COVID and all these things. And this is, for me, like the essence of the course, where we can reach to discuss how technology is transforming the whole world, not only companies, because mostly we focus on business, but also what is the influence and what is the impact on generic things like cities. So how we are evolving in this direction. We live in cities with a lot of challenges. So if I ask the average person and people in the city, they will say, we just need an additional line or road because in the morning we have huge traffic and huge challenges to get to our job. Will that solve? Will that additional line of street will solve the problems which we have? What do you think?
No, because then after we work that out.
Yeah, they're obviously not, and it has no impact, no really impact on the challenges we are facing in this difficulties we are facing on every day in the city where we are going in and out to get to their jobs and more. Technology is always evolving and pulling. The evolution of technology is pulling the evolution of cities as well. Let me take you back about 100 years or so. So 100 years ago, there was a famous quote. Somebody asked him about this, and that's why I transformed it in the more recent statement that somebody asked for Harrison Ford how he invented the car, and this is what he said. If we ask people, they wanted faster, more horses, but then faster horses. And then he invented the car, and the impact of this was huge. So we found a picture just 10 years before and after in the same location in New York in early 90s and 1913. You can see in the first picture, we could difficultly find one car, and just 10, 15 years later, there was no coaches anymore. 99% of the people were using cars to for the transportation. Can you imagine? A technology evolution has enormously huge impact on how the city has changed, how the whole world has changed there. And the impact was even bigger because if you think about it, also the jobs connected to that in the city has changed and evolved and dramatically changed. So people who were dealing with horses, I would not say no, there were dirty jobs that were around that. They now moved to deal more with cars and how to organize the traffic in the city and so on and so on. So technology evolution has direct impact on city evolution, and this is happening also today. This is something we are facing every day in real life, and this is a continuous back and forward. Just in 30 years from now, there is a prediction that about 9 billion people will be on Earth, and out of that, 75% will live in big cities. Today, it's approximately 3.5 billion who are living in big cities. So the number is huge. Obviously, with the COVID situation now, this might change, and maybe the prediction might be impacted a bit because we already feel that more and more people may move out of the city just to work from home and to find places where they can have better life-health balance, work-life balance. But in reality, the prediction is still valid that we can continuously, we are moving more and more people, we are moving in the cities where we can find jobs and where we can survive in our everyday lives. So big cities, and some of you might live in big cities. I don't consider Budapest, we are a big city. We have much bigger and huge cities, giga cities somewhere, but are those cities really smart? So do cities leverage the technology they can access? Can they turn the knowledge from technology into the advantage of the city? So how to make it more livable, how to make it more attractive? So in reality, at the end of the day, there's a competition between cities. Are these cities competing with each other? Who will attract more people? Would you like to live in a city which has more technology embedded and helps your everyday life? Or you will say, no, I would like to live in a city where technology is not there at all. Because I don't want to be monitored, I don't want to be followed. So there are differences. In Hungary, most of the people like to own their home, to stay in the same location, but in the future, we might become even more flexible. There are cultures where people, they don't really own their flat. They're flexible, they move around, and they might choose today, I live in this city, tomorrow I go in another city. In some point of time, it might happen that the changing, the cause of changing, the decision why you change to a new city might be because they use much better technology than the previous city you have been living for. That because the city where you want to live is smarter. This is a great challenge, smarter cities. So I think the whole topic started around 10 years ago or so. And we already feel that many cities have started going to on this journey, on this path. Can you consider your city where you live smart? Smart enough? This is an open question, imperative, because we have a lot of people online. Just think about it. The city where you live is smart or not? And I will give you a slight definition of what is smart city considered. But before we do that, let's understand what is the base on which we can build this, the smart city theory approach, let's say. So we have three main pillars. Nowadays, because of technology, we can instrument everything. By instrumentation, mean we can put sensors on anything. The humidity, the temperature, where are people, how many people are there. We can access you by your phones, so we can predict where are you going, if you are sitting in the university now or you are traveling home. So all these things can be monitored and measured continuously. So we are instrumented, not only physically the city, but also as human beings individually. We have our phones and our smartwatches, all the things we can continuously generate data for whatever reasons. The second pillar is that more and more of this data is connected now. Let me give you an example. How important could be in the future, for example, if we know in advance on a train how many people are coming in the city and how many of those will plan to change to a bus. So when the train arrives to the train station, let's say if you know that there are 150 people on the train, then we might need to initiate one additional bus from the end station. So once the train is there, then we can serve the needs of the citizens who want to go home as quick as possible. So interconnecting the different data sources can bring more value, more experience to the citizens who are living in the city. The last and not, I would say, most important thing is to bring some intelligence on this. So the example I said, just by connecting the data will not bring any results. Somebody and something need to take a decision that whether we can or we should initiate a new bus to arrive at the point of time when the train arrives in the city. So this is really exciting. I personally think I have never seen really a city who is smart enough. But we can see many, many technologies already existing, things which you are using on every day, which I personally consider as technologies who are driving this smart city initiative or idea or approach or whatever. Do you know any examples of technology which you use day by day? Here, the audience, maybe?
Well, if you use Google Maps, you already know the place there
Correct.
are many people, or the street there, it's easy.
Yeah, the example of Waze, which is Google Maps, is a Google bot Waze. So in reality, think about it. It has all the three things. So instrumentation is your phone and in your car where you are going, yes? So the interconnection is you are sharing the data among the people who are also using Waze. So you are providing the data, but you access also to the others, to the data provided by others. And the third, there is intelligence. So the system helps you to optimize your journey towards your destination. There are pros and cons for this. For example, we have seen cities who are now prohibiting Waze to provide routes which go through, let's say, areas of the city which people complain that they don't want other cars to go to that direction. I don't know if this is good or bad, but in reality, we are just heavily loading those roads, main roads, which are anyhow having the problems. But there are other cities like Debrecen a couple of years ago, they did a cooperation with Waze, and they really rerouted the traffic of the city based on the data that they could access with the help of Waze, with the help of the people who were using Waze to drive through the city. So you can see both examples, and this is depending on the maturity of the people of the municipalities or whatever in the city, how they use the technology in advantage to reshape the city in a form that it becomes more livable and more enjoyable. So this is, I think, one of the best examples we all can feel in an everyday form. So just by having the phones in our pockets, we generate an enormous amount of data and information. Many things. I can predict or I can understand if a person is driving a car, is sitting in a bicycle, riding a bicycle, or going by foot to somewhere. By having heat maps and historic data, you can predict where he or she would like to go tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, or most precisely where they be. So you can, generally, you can see the whole city, how it is moving around across the week, across the months, or you can create shapes and various information. Is this good or bad? I don't know. It's a great challenge. The possibility is there. The data is generated, it's instrumented. It can be interconnected. What is the level of intelligence you put on that? That's a great question. Because sometimes if you put intelligence on this, it can bring a lot of stupid things even. I'm sure you have seen this movie. And they have been doing studies based on data to predict if the next robbery will happen and who will be the person who will do that robbery. But this way, back and forward, we can even influence or put some stigmas on people who are living in the neighborhood. So you most probably you will be a killer. Why? Because you live there. Because many killers have been born in that city, that area of the city. So this is also that we need, it's not only that to put intelligence, but some cleverness on top of this. So not to do stupid things, because we can have side effects which can keep back. As the one which, I don't know if you have seen this movie, but in reality, this can become true. Overall, if you put all these things together, obviously we could talk about this topic on ours. The smart city is one who uses the information. So generate the information, uses the information in order to try to predict problems, to avoid problems before happening, and also to interact as quickly as possible. So if there is a huge traffic jam, can you reroute the whole city? Not just letting ways to send people around to different journeys or paths, but maybe you can realign the lights. Okay, let's put on this direction more green lights instead of having the red lights on the cross roads. Or anything, it can be anything if we use it cleverly and properly. My key message always, also for business people, but in this case, is more specifically, it's important that technology is just an enabler. Think about it. I have seen the opposite. Many people now, many countries or cities have started smarter city projects and initiatives, and for 10 years, nothing has really happened. Why? Because they stuck with the first two, maybe, pillars. They instrument everything. They spend enormously amount of money on technologies, monitoring systems. They might even imitate that they create some smart tools or processes or technologies, but they don't really apply the intelligence, and they don't return really the knowledge back to the city, to the health, wealth of the city. And this is why I think nowadays we cannot really see good smart city examples. We can see just initiatives which have never reached to the maturity which they could really generate some value out of it. Let's see my observation and my feeling. I wrote an article on this 2 years ago, just before the COVID, that how this can move to the next step. And what I see is we need to think more about in ecosystems. So ecosystems are the citizen, the municipality, and the companies which are living in the city or in the area could kind of collaborate in a form that they're having a symbiosis. So they collaborate to share and co-create the value for the city and for themselves as well. Let me show you some examples. There are various roles that different participants can play within this ecosystem. So the most tangible are the role of asset providers, of those who are providing the technology, the assets, anything which we can use in the ecosystem for creating value. The second group maybe we consider are the process providers who are ensuring the interconnection between the various players and to provide an end-to-end process to deliver the value. The third one, which I have it on the right-hand side here, is the platform providers who ensures the technology, not the assets, the tangible things, but more the knowledge and the platform which the information is going through back and forward and shared. And last but not least, we have the experience providers who are ensuring the best experience for the citizens in the city. this is not clear, yes? Let me give you some examples. Obviously, the examples could be endless, but let me give you some of my favorite ones. So the asset providers, you already could have guessed who are they. They are kind of companies like in Hungary, but also in other countries, we have different who provide the car sharing, the bicycle sharing, this roller sharing, or we have also smart benches or anything which are assets which can be used within the city. So this is one group. And as you see, many, many organizations are investing their money into this in order to change the way how cities living or working better. I show you some platform providers. The Hungarians probably will understand all of them. For example, but I'm sure Airbnb and Waze you all know. And then we have some other initiatives. I like the one which is a startup in Parku in Hungary, that they are sharing the parking slots. So for example, if you live in the day in the city and you don't use your parking in the night, then they can rent it for you. So like a small initiative, you can go somewhere and if there is no parking space, you can just book one by the phone. And they are sharing the parking slots between the people who are owner and the people who could use and access that. This is great, I think. On the left-hand side, or I don't know how you see online, we have the so-called process providers. For me, Uber is a great example, or Simple in Hungary, which is really provides process for various disciplines. But a good example is the transformation of NetPincer into Food Panda. And definitely it's like a Food Panda is moving even more to like a platform provider close to what Wolt is doing that. I will show you why I have put Wolt in the center. Last but not least, we might have the experience providers. It can be anything. Here I'm lacking of good examples. One of my favorite examples is Airbnb, is a Hungarian startup. I don't know how they are struggling now with COVID, but it was a couple of years ago, they started what they do. You, as the flat owner, you have your flat. You are the asset provider, yes? Then you have Airbnb, who is the platform provider to ensure that you can rent your flat to the individuals who are traveling in the city here. And Airbnb, the Hungarian startup, is a small company who jumps in the ecosystem or between these two, your flat owner and Airbnb, and says, if you are a flat owner who don't want to bother too much with your renting your flat, I will take care of that. Let me manage your flat in Airbnb, ensure you that you have high level of hit rates, likes and whatever, and I take few percentage out of the fee which the clients will pay for you. Great, no? This is a great example of an ecosystem. We have 3 participants, and I'm not even sure that if Airbnb, the big Airbnb, is aware that an Airbnb in Hungary exists at all. Maybe we can say it's a parasite, but in reality, no, it's an ecosystem. All players are satisfied because Airbnb is happy he can access, or the technology, the platform can access those asset providers who didn't want to bother with renting their flat, but the flat that they have it. And there is somebody who can also make some money out of it because they take over the cleaning, all the paints with the flat owners will not take care of that. It's a good example, no? I really like that.
Why do you put Airbnb there and Uber and Food Panda over there? They're doing the same, so the assets
they are doing similar. Similar, very similar. There is a main difference. And I will show you with Wolt, why Wolt has moved there. With this, you will understand the differences because one thing is to interconnect data, that's a platform. The other thing is to ensure end-to-end processes by payment, all the things. There are differences there. Let me show you the example of Wolt after this slide. So now this is what I explained to you, that in an ecosystem form, the value is co-created. So the example with Airbnb is also in a smart city, happening in a smart city. Uber is happening in a smart city. So some cities are disqualified. So said, we don't want Uber. Why? That's several reasons. I don't want to go in that discussion. So the key message here is that the value is co-created and the participation in an ecosystem is only valuable if you can make more out of it, rather if you have done something similar on your own. So that's why I say it's a symbiosis. So you co-depend upon each other. You are not just serving each other, but you create value together. Let me show you the example of Volt to understand this much better. So in case of Volt, we have the restaurants who are really providing the experience. Yes, restaurant makes food, tasty, delicious, you like it. That's the experience you are looking for, to obtain, to have it at home. Then we have individual couriers. Food delivery is done by individuals who spend their time, their assets, their personal assets. In the future, it might happen that they might use the assets from another provider. Maybe they use the car sharing to take foods at home, or it can be even more crazy combination. And then we have the consumer on the end of the day. So this is an ecosystem. What Volt does in this? Volt provides a platform to ensure the connection between the restaurants, the food carriers, then the consumer is at the end of the road. Yes, I have 1 minute still, so let me finish that. And as I said, platform provider is Volt, and they ensure the end-to-end accessibility. And who knows, in the future, you as the consumer might become member of the ecosystem by actively providing your data backwards. One example, if you have a very nice recipe from your grandmother, you give it back to the ecosystem, and some restaurants might start producing that food, which goes through the ecosystem, and you might get some money out of that. Just a crazy thought. Who is the orchestrator? In this case, the orchestrator in a smart city should be more in the municipality level, something that I personally miss. So that's a problem with most of these technologies, that they are developing independently, but they are not really sharing the value, and they are not co-creating value. In a smart city, the co-creation should be done in something like that. So we have all players. It's either it's public or private or whatever. We can categorize in 3 levels. We have those who are ensuring the infrastructure, the bottom line, the base on which you can build all the other things. And then we have a layer in the middle, some examples here, who are ensuring the operation of the city. But these things will not work properly if the city doesn't have a mission, a vision, a strategy. And I challenge you to check if the city you are living in it, does the city has a strategy, a mission? I don't know about Budapest if we have a mission. And that's why we cannot create a real nice co-creation of a smarter city for the future. My last slide and I close. For me, whatever happens, I don't want to be pushed too much with technology. That's one of the mistakes people do, and companies or cities do. They expose that we have all the technology. I want the technology to be invisible, but to enable me the livable to be in the city much more affordable, much nicer to be there, and still to get the benefits and to have all the benefits and the wealth coming out of these initiatives or the ideas in total. Okay, I stop now. Obviously, you understood that we could talk about ours and it could be even more interactive, but we have to continue with the Q&A questions. And I don't know, Thomas, if you have access or you could read any questions on the topic, or if you have generic.
Achilles, thank you so much. I mean, it should be a sneak peek. If people wanted to hear more about your lecture, they should basically apply for Executive MBA. That's an easy solution for them to get more lectures like that. Maciej, please feel free to comment on Achilles' lecture.
Oh, okay. Do you hear me? Hello from Zagreb.
Yes, Maciej. Hi, we can hear you.
Hello. Yes. Very interesting talk. Yeah, I probably will just comment because my comment may provoke a very long discussion, which is, you see, my problem with the smart city idea is that it is, you mentioned missing an orchestrator, but it's not even that. It's missing it's missing governance. Yes, it's missing the very difficult process of coming up with this mission and vision. It's not only that you don't have a mission or vision and some orchestrator can create it. I mean, you live, Budapest is the capital of a country that is you know, as polarized as you can be. Yes, you have the mayor of Budapest and you have the prime minister who absolutely hate each other. Yes, and one is a liberal and one is a proud illiberal. Yes, so what should be the mission or a vision if we live in societies where people, you say, you know, we increase prosperity, but you know, how do we define even prosperity? Yes, what is prosperity? Is it, you know, more traditional conservative values, or is it more rights for, you know, LGBTQ people? Yes, I mean, all of this can be defined as prosperity. I'll give you one example. Yes, Hong Kong is often, you know, one of the most supposedly well-managed cities, and everybody is now escaping because its COVID policies may be very clear. There is clear mission, zero COVID. So they fill the box of having a mission and vision, but some people cannot live their lives or travel to see their families because of this very strong mission and vision. So my prediction is actually that there will be, it comes back to, I actually don't disagree with you as much as it sounds, but I'm just trying to make it more fun for everybody at this late hour. And my prediction will be very similar to what you started from. I think you said it kind of tongue-in-cheek, partly joke, but I actually think it's real. I think that in the future, there will be a place for smart cities, very aligned, very top down, but there will be also a very big competitive place for stupid cities, which will be messy, which will be disorganized, which will have graffiti everywhere. Because a lot of us actually prefer those cities with those technological utopias where everything works to the extent that it's scary. So that's my comment. And it would be a lovely CEU executive MBA class to discuss it for hours, as you said.
Absolutely, and we didn't touch at all ethical topics or the related topics to this. My only key message here is that technology is the enabler. So it's up to us how we can leverage technology for the good of the city and not back and forward. So usually cities are doing the opposite. They implement technology and they wait the miracle. So miracles don't happen on their own. So then you need to do something in order to have to bring some results out of that. Yeah, thank you, Maciej. And I think we could have a very long discussion. I agree with this. Thomas, any questions online? I cannot see the chat.
I just wanted to add no long discussions now. We have to move to the Q&A session. Thank you, Achilles. Thank you, Maciej, for this academic exchange. I have collected questions from direct messaging and from the chat box, and I would like to direct this question to Maciej, if you don't mind. What about the COVID measures? How about the COVID situation on campus? What are we doing to ensure safety on campus? How does it affect our curriculum?
I'm going to partly speak to the audience in Budapest and Belgrade and partly speak to our audience here. And we actually discussed it before the start. As you said, Thomas, you are very correct. Nothing replaces in-person participation. But we are lucky that, 7 out of 10 of our modules are in a city which is a leader of managing the COVID situation, the city of Vienna. And we benefit from being in that ecosystem. Our students can benefit from free tests, free PCR tests that Vienna provides to everybody. This gives us a lot of opportunity to, in addition to vaccination, to actually give everybody peace of mind. Like imagine you go into campus for the entire day, and you know that every single person has recently been, like within the last 48 hours, has recently been PCR without adding to your costs, because that is offered as a service to everybody by the city. I mean, this really helps. We had only one fully online module since the start of the pandemic. when it was total lockdown and it was not possible. And we didn't have a positive case during our modules. And I think that speaks for itself.
Thank you very much, Maciej. Let me summarize for those people who might not heard it very well. We were among the first universities who introduced antigen testing in fall 2020 it was. I mean, it sounds so ridiculous. It's just so close to this year, but I mean, just think of it. Just 1 year ago, we didn't even have standard PCR and antigen testing on a broad scale, but we introduced testing not in order to avoid a pandemic. Of course, that's not our sphere of influence, but in order for you to have the most convenient participation in the module, because you're traveling to Vienna, you don't want to spend quarantine in a hotel room or in a city that you don't know. So that's why we tested everybody on the first day. So we're not wasting your time with quarantine action, etc., but ensure highest quality on campus. Yeah, moving on to the next question, which which is directed towards me. I will be happy to respond to that question. What are the application requirements? How does the application process look like? So let's start with the application requirements. We are looking for people with at least 8 years of work experience, of which 3 years are in any kind of leadership or managerial experience. We, of course, can do exceptions, but exceptions are exceptions and you have to make a case. So you have to tell us, for example, if you don't have 8 years of work experience, but maybe you're a serial founder, this could be a potential exception. Feel free, don't be frightened off, apply for the program and tell us why we should consider your application, even though you might not meet those 8 years or 3 years of leadership experience. In addition to the work experience, we require a university degree of any field of study. We have people in the program, with medical doctors in the program, we have business people in the program, we have even artists and engineers in the program. So whatever your university background is, whatever your professional background is, feel free to inquire about the program. We do require proof of English, which can easily be done with TOEFL online or Duolingo, shouldn't be a problem. Of course, people with mother tongue English or native speakers or whose degree was fully taught in English, they're exempt from the proof of English, of course. And we require some documents like a CV or a motivation letter. And in the motivation letter, just a basic advice is don't tell us only about how the executive MBA could help you in your career development. Also tell us how you would benefit others in class, how you would contribute to the whole learning experience. What are you bringing to the table? This is what people mostly forget in their motivation letters. And it's basically the same advice that I always tend to give. Tell us about you yourself, like what can you bring to the table? The application process is very simple and straightforward. You apply via our homepage or via our website. It's a fully online application. You would need to upload a CV, a motivation letter, some documents. You create a profile that you would need to feed with data. And once you have completed and submitted your application, we will revise your application for completeness and correctness. We will get in touch with you if there's any documents missing. And assuming that that you meet all these criteria, you will be invited to an interview. In the spirit of open society, we are fully transparent, and you can check the questionnaire that we base the interview on. You can find the questionnaire on our website. So basically you get a sense on your individual strengths and weaknesses, and you can better prepare for the interview. So for example, if you are lacking 8 years of work experience, you might come up with a good explanation why we should consider your application. Or for any other reasons, if you're lacking some other experience or any other criteria, feel free to check these criteria and to prepare for the interview. we only have this interview in order to get to know you. So we are just, we're not playing any mind games. We want to get to know you and your motivation, your personality, and your leadership style. And we're not going to ask you silly questions known from, stupid HR interviews. Sorry if there's any HR people present, but we only have this limited amount of time to get to know you. In view of the time, I would like to move to the next question for you, Maciej, because it's an academic question. Are there any exams? How does the assessment look like? And is there a thesis?
Yeah, and by the way, if you will have some questions, I will respond after. So yes, good question. There are exams. We already saw our participant who just went through the exams. However, it's very important to say that the exams are not during the modules. So it's because we don't want you to waste your time when you come to the module. We want you to focus on exchange of ideas, learning. It's a very diverse group, not on like sitting in a room writing an exam. You actually write exam between the modules during 10-day exam periods. And you basically use our course management system, online system, to start your exam at any point of those 10 days. You need to finish within 2-3 hours. You can't, break from this. So like once you start it, you need to finish, but it's at your time, at your convenience, whenever you want to do it. So that's exams. However, very important to say, most of our courses don't have exams. Most of our courses give you grades based on projects that you do in support teams. Thomas mentioned support teams. This is very unique because it kind of forces you, as Thomas very nicely pointed out, it forces you to work with people who are very unlike you. Yes, it forces you to work with people who are from very, very different backgrounds. And at the end, you actually get your final grade for the course, in large part based on this project. Now, a very interesting aspect of this is that your grade then gets weighted by the peer assessment. So you assess each other, you meet at the end of the project and say, okay, who contributed to this success or failure? Yes. And this also factors into the grade. The honest feedback that you give in the spirit of open society to each other. On the thesis, we don't have a thesis, we have a capstone. And what's the difference? Well, instead of writing a magnum opus that's going to gather dust on a shelf, we actually ask you to do something in the real world, and that's the capstone. And we want you to do 2 specific things to graduate from CEU Executive MBA. One is called the strategic analysis component, and it's basically using things that you learned during the program to solve a problem. To solve a business problem, to solve, some people even do it for social problems, or for reports on maybe even legal reforms. But mostly it's problems within businesses. Mostly it's problems within companies, within organizations. A marketing plan, a financial restructuring plan, something like this that involves analytical skills. That's one part. And the other part is the so-called leadership component. And that is a part when we actually want you to not only analyze, but actually do something, mentor something, implement a project, and share with us what you have learned in the process. So this is the CEU approach to the thesis.
Thank you very much, Maciej. I would like to summarize it once again if people happen to not have understood it quite correctly. We're not going to waste, speaking of exams, we're not going to waste your time during the module with exams because we're not inviting you to travel for you to sit in class for 6 hours to write an exam. You will be in an exam, which is intense. It's very exhausting, of course. It's very, it's a lot. We're not joking about it. But you will have the opportunity to take the test the exam, if there is an exam. We only offer exams in the quantitative courses like finance. I think it's only 2 modules, if I remember correctly, which have a written exam. You will write the written open book exam at your convenience at home in a time frame of 2 weeks after you have come home from the module. So again, you have full flexibility. You have control over when you are doing the exam. We're not going to waste your time during the module. When it comes to the thesis, we don't require you to write a thesis because we think that executives don't have, the nerve and the time to actually go back to libraries and, do research and sit in libraries and, work on papers that are going to be dust in libraries. We want you to engage in a more practical project, which is called the Capstone Project, which basically deals with a concrete problem or a concrete situation from your job, and you're supposed to apply the knowledge that you have gained in the program in solving or in describing that situation. And you will have basically time of 2 years to finish your capstone project, and you're not going to you're going to graduate the executive MBA upon graduation, upon finishing the 10th module. There's not going to be a phase when you have to write a thesis or a paper after the 10 modules. You will be done with the 10th module, period. In view of the time, I would like to move on to the last question, which might be very important to to most of you, which is the question: is there any financial support or scholarships? And the clear answer is yes. We are happy to offer a variety of financial support, not just because of charity, but because we invest in your talent and we invest in your future talent. So we offer basically 3 streams of financial support. The first one is the Open World Scholarship, which aims at people who have achieved something remarkable, something outstanding in promoting our mission, in promoting our open society values. Not everybody who is applying for that program comes from the NGO or public or civil rights field. Most people come, but it's not exclusive to those people. The second one is the need-based scholarship, which is non-competitive and only takes into consideration your income situation and the country of residence, because of course it makes a difference if you're a marketing manager in Serbia or in Germany as far as your income is concerned. I would say it's the easiest one to get, let's put it that way, because it's non-competitive. And the third stream is our country-specific merit-based fellowships. You can call them empowerment fellowships because they have the mission to empower certain groups of our society which have not been able to actually join our programs. For example, businesswomen. I don't have to tell you about the gender gap in our society, or the Romani minority. They are underrepresented on the business and political level, LGBTIQ people, etc. Feel free to book a one-on-one consultation with me through our website. I've just added the link in the chat box. If you want further advice on scholarships and fellowships, this is not the best opportunity to talk about your individual scholarships, but the one-on-one consultations are the perfect opportunity to talk about your individual application and your scholarship options. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks to the people who joined us in Budapest, who joined us on site in Zagreb, and who joined us on site here in Belgrade. Thank you for all the people who joined us online. Thank you, Anita, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Achilles, for your wonderful keynote presentation. And thank you very much, Maciej, for joining us from Zagreb campus. Get in touch with me. I would be happy to hear from you. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.